Local news that matters. This is CBS 17 News.
It's tough. When you're out here searching for an adult is one thing, we got a job to do. But when you're out here searching for a child, we definitely got a job to do.
Tonight, the search for missing 5-year-old girl is over. We first brought you the breaking news during our news at 5:30 and 6 o'clock.
But at first light, searchers will be back out looking for 4-year-old Abraham Jr. The children were swept away during flash floods Monday night. The rushing water caused Galilee Road to collapse, sending the car the family was in into the flooded creek. New tonight, CBS 17's Amy Cutler talks to the family.
Another long and heartbreaking day here in Smithfield. The family still trying to wrap their minds around the loss of 5-year-old Alexa. This as they continue to hope and pray 4-year-old Abraham will be found alive.
Nobody wants to be in those shoes.
Nancy Martinez, like so many other relatives, friends, and neighbors, waiting nearby the command center, anxious for any update, any new piece of information.
I got kids of my own, you know? What can you think?
It's been almost 48 hours since the 2 young children were swept away by floodwaters. The children's mother behind the wheel calling 911 around 11:30 Monday night. Investigators say her car was swept into a creek off Galilee Road following devastating storms. First responders managed to get Abraham and his mother into a rescue boat, but it capsized, the boy slipping away. At first light Tuesday, the search started. This evening, we learned crews located Alexa's body.
She was a sweet girl. She was always smiling. Every time I see Alexa, every time I remember her, I can see her smiling.
Their mother was treated at the hospital and has since been released.
I know for a fact that the mom feels very guilty. She feels like she could have done more, but being in that rain, you know, it's you against nature. Nature is a lot stronger.
Ingrid Alvarenga tells me she drove that same stretch of road an hour earlier. She says the conditions were terrible, 0 visibility. Still, she feels a level of guilt.
A big part of me wishes that it would have been my car that swept away because I feel like I would have been fine. I would have survived.
Alvarenga, one of several neighbors who doesn't know the family but wanted to help. Dozens coming together with food and supplies, holding prayer circles. The search will resume tomorrow at 7 a.m. and investigators say will continue until Abraham is found. The family telling me that they are grateful for the support and love that they have received from this community. In Smithfield, Amy Cutler, CBS 17 News.
Such a heartbreaking story. Amy, thank you for that update. Tonight, Zebulon police are looking for an armed robbery suspect. It happened at the Hudson Belk store on Wake Lawn Drive this afternoon. Detectives say the suspect went inside the store wearing a mask and a multicolored skull cap. Police say he pulled out a handgun and demanded money from several cash registers. He then ran out of the store and got into a silver Buick LeSabre with the tinted windows. If you know anything about this robbery, call police.
We have a crime alert tonight. Durham police are investigating a shooting and carjacking. Police were called to an apartment complex on Page Road around 6 this morning. Officers found a man who had been shot. Police say the shooting happened during a carjacking, and the last we checked, the man was in the hospital. So far, no arrests have been made in the case. And in Fayetteville, police are looking for the person who shot a convenience store clerk. It happened at the Suburban Mart last night, just after 11. Investigators say 3 people were in front of the store. When the clerk asked them to leave, he was assaulted. He ran back in the store, but the suspects attempted to break in and shot him. The victim was seriously injured. So far, no arrest in the case.
Raleigh police arrested more than a dozen people last Friday for violating the curfew. Now some leaders at the General Assembly want tougher penalties for people who commit felonies during protests and riots. CBS 17's Mackenzie Stasko is live in downtown Raleigh tonight, which has seen its fair share of looting and rioting. Mackenzie.
Angela, it sure has. The CBS here behind me in downtown Raleigh is still closed 3 months later after being set on fire after the George Floyd protests. Now, one of the ideas being discussed by state lawmakers is that people who commit felony crimes like what happened here could be held in jail for up to 48 hours.
I know we all support the law protesting. That's fine. But some of the lawlessness has gotten out of hand.
following a summer full of countless protests and at times looting and rioting. House Speaker Tim Moore now tossing out ideas to tighten penalties.
You know, there's talks about, for example, having if someone's out committing a felony during a riot, right now doing like a 48-hour hold like we do in domestic violence cases, kind of a cool down period.
Kerwin Pittman is a social justice activist. He says he's peacefully protested for George Floyd and most recently for Jacob Blake. He tells me adding penalties only demonstrates the need for people to protest.
It is extremely egregious to think that any legislator would particularly try to demonstrate this type of law and order against individuals who are trying to speak out against racial injustice and oppression.
And there's something I think is a great idea, subjecting them to civil liability for going out and destroying somebody's property, to treble damages and to punitive damages.
Pittman's concern is that in a crowded protest, it can be difficult to pinpoint who's responsible, and says laws like that could lead to unjustified arrests. He tells me lawmakers considering these ideas should spend a day walking in their shoes.
See, the issue is they're so disconnected from the individuals who are out there protesting that they feel the need to lock these individuals up and consider them a threat to public safety. But if they was to participate in the process, they would get a clear understanding of what's going on.
Now, to be clear, those ideas you just heard have not become legislation just yet, but they are being discussed by our state lawmakers. Live in downtown Raleigh, Mackenzie Stasko, CBS 17 News.
Mackenzie, thank you. President Trump is back in North Carolina, or was back in North Carolina today, to designate Wilmington as the first American World War II heritage city. The criteria for the designation includes contributions made during the war, preservation efforts, and veteran recognition. Although the event was closed to the public, veterans and other community leaders were in attendance.
With this designation, we proudly declare that in America, we don't tear down the past, we celebrate our heroes. We cherish our heritage, we preserve our history, and we build the future. This mighty vessel and this magnificent town will forever tell that story with this designation. So I want to just congratulate North Carolina and Wilmington.
And new at 11, we've learned President Trump will be back in North Carolina next week. He plans on being in Winston-Salem at the Smith Reynolds Regional Airport on September 8th. Vice President Mike Pence will be in the Triangle tomorrow. The vice president's first stop is in Raleigh and then head to Cary, where he's meeting with the members of the Southern States Police Benevolent Association.
Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden back out making in-person campaign stops. Today in Delaware, he said he was looking forward to debating President Trump.
What I'd love to have is a crawler at the bottom of the screen, a fact checker, when we speak. If we really wanted to do something, I think that would make a great, great debate if everything both of us said was instantly fact-checked by an agreed-to group of people.
The former vice president and President Trump will face off in their first debate in Cleveland, Ohio, later this month. And CBS 17 hosting a debate between Senator Tillis and Cal Cunningham. And of course, we need your questions. You can record yourself asking a question and send it to us at CBS17.com. We'll then show those questions to the two candidates and see how they answer. That debate is coming up on Tuesday, September 22nd.
The state of Mississippi is redesigning its flag, and this is the flag people will vote on come November 3rd. It's called the Magnolia flag. Now, back in June, state leaders decided to remove the Confederate emblem from the flag and create something new. And if voters approve the new design, it will become the official state flag. Now, if they reject it, the commission will find a new design to go on the ballot later. Orange County workers will get Juneteenth as a paid holiday in 2021. Wake County, Raleigh, the city of Durham, and Apex have all made June 19th an official paid holiday. The day celebrates the day in 1865 that the last enslaved people in South Texas learned that they were free.
State lawmakers are back in Raleigh today voting on a plan that includes sending parents stimulus checks. The Senate approved a plan to spend about $1 billion to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. That includes sending $335 to each household that has a child. Republicans say it's meant to help with the burden many families have right now with remote learning and homeschooling. Democrats say they had no input on the bill.
I know $335 isn't going to pay off a mortgage, but it'll put a dent in the cost of electronic devices or help pay for a tutor.
Helping people, stimulating the economy is good, but the question is, what are we not doing by giving money to families?
Lawmakers plan to take a final vote tomorrow and adjourn. Governor Cooper hasn't said yet whether he would sign that bill. People living in downtown Raleigh have a new place to get their groceries. The new Publix supermarket opened today on West Peace Street. Publix did away with samplings and most giveaways because of the pandemic, but the first customers received a free Publix reusable bag at checkout.
The city of Rocky Mount is finally coming clean about a cyber attack that's affected its computer system since mid-August. The police department first noticed the breach back on August 14th when it couldn't access its computers. City officials say the ransomware attack spread quickly. Within 3 seconds of someone signing on, it encrypted their computer. Until today, the city never fully disclosed the extent of the attack.
One of the things we were trying to ascertain is, was there any information that was taken from the system, or if this is just simply ransomware? And so in going through that process, again, working with the FBI, working with other law enforcement agencies, just felt like sharing too much too soon may tip the scales in the favor of those who were trying to attack the system.
Forensics teams are still working to determine who hacked Rocky Mount's computers, even as the city has implemented what it calls new policies and procedures to protect its network.
I think any one of us could have picked it up on campus or at an apartment and just not known.
It's bad enough to get the coronavirus once, but what about twice? The warning tonight from an ECU student.
97 and 99, the two hottest temperatures of the year so far in the Triangle and the Sandhills. We'll be close to that tomorrow, but it's the heat index that's going to skyrocket. I'll tell you what it's going to feel like tomorrow, update you on the cold front, and I'll introduce you to our newest hurricane out in the tropics right after this.